Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be why she doesn't love you. Well, I've got an email here from a viewer, and the problem that he has, he's been dating this woman for about 10 weeks at this point, and she's not in love with him. So he writes in and kind of details what he's doing during his dating and courting of her. And it's pretty obvious to me where he's screwing up and where he's going wrong. So I'm going to go through his email in a second, but I got a quote that I wrote on this particular topic, and then we're going to go through his email and analyze what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong, and what he needs to do to tweak his approach so she falls head over heels in love with him and says all the things that he's wanting her to say. And the quote says, "Women fall in love slowly over time. Men who tend to obsess over a relationship commitment, relationship or dating labels, where they stand, if she's going to fall in love, and generally worry about what may or may not happen in the future, are going to prevent their women from falling in love with them. Why? Their behavior and actions are constantly communicating that they are not worthy and that they don't deserve to be loved. Therefore, they try to force things, which makes the woman feel unsafe and uncomfortable. Anytime a man does more than 20 to 30% of the calling, texting, and pursuing, the woman predictably will never fall in love with him and often will dump him, reject him, or friend zone him." So let's go ahead and go through his email. He says, "Hi Corey, I purchased an email coaching session. Please critique the email below or advise how I can go about this as I found the instructions confusing." Oh, by the way, I've actually now on my website, for those of you who are interested, if you're used to normally watching my videos on YouTube, but on my website, the original article, I'm also posting the person's email, their full email, along with some comments, like I used to do with some of the articles years ago. And I'm also, when someone's doing email coaching with me, I'm also posting the response that I've written back to them as well, so you can see both those. Not every one of the videos and articles that I do is somebody that's paying me to coach them, but when I do, I'll have both responses in there because I have people been asking me if I could start doing that again, and so your wish is my command, and I'm doing that again. I've added those back in there for you. He says, "I met this girl about 10 weeks ago, and I was out with friends, and although I was aware of her in the bar checking me out, I allowed her to come into my orbit, which she did. I then reciprocated. Notice how she moved. He saw her, she saw him, but he continued going on about what he was doing. And what happened? She came closer and closer. That's what women do. When they like you, they help you. And she puts herself into your orbit and looks at you like, hey, I like what I see. Hopefully you're a man and you know what to do, and you do something about that," which obviously he did. He says, "I then reciprocated interest, saying we should go out, and she readily volunteered her number. When I called the next week, she was very receptive to meeting up for a get-together. I'm 45 and she's 40, and from the start I thought my game was pretty tight. I followed the advice in your book and videos and making very few, if any, beta male mistakes." Or so he thought. "I felt we had a lot in common and felt that she was pretty much into me, loving my guitar playing and varied dates that we went on. She said a couple of times in the early days that there's definitely something about you, and she didn't know what it was. In other words, you act like a man. You're indifferent, you're mysterious, you're not like most guys that she meets." And so at least at this point, this tells me that you are following what I teach in my book. And what really becomes difficult for a lot of guys is once they really start to care and really start to like a woman, then they start being extra nice, extra compliant, and they start pursuing a little too much. And they start trying to force things, and that's what this guy is basically guilty of. He says, "A while later, she said I had a very strong core, which I took as bad boy/alpha characteristics. I allowed her to do most of the texting between dates, where she probably does around 60% of total text. Well, as I discussed in my book, the man should never do more than 20 to 30% of the calling, texting, pursuing." That's where he's initiating her. That means that there's no conversation going on. There's not a message that she's waiting for you to reply to. I'm talking about when you haven't talked to her, whatever conversations you had previously, those conversations have ended, and you're waiting to hear from her next, or maybe you got another date set up a few days in advance. The point being was when I talk about initiated contact, that means there's no existing conversation that's ongoing via text or or you're waiting for messages or text to be returned. And so anytime the guy does more than 20 to 30% of the initiating, it's always too much. In any of those cases, as soon as the guy goes past 30%, she'll never fall in love. You can set your watch to that. He says, it's been about 9 to 10 weeks now, and I am, or at least was, pretty much head over heels in love with her. Hence the problem. You're goo goo gaga over her, you're acting a little dopey, and you're obviously making little subtle mistakes. Because by this point, if you've been following everything that I teach in my book, by reading it 10 to 15 times, which you obviously haven't, she'd be in love with you by now. And so one thing I've noticed, you're calling and you're texting too much. At this point, after 10 weeks, like I talk about in my book, the guy really kind of has to start the courtship off. You get her contact information. You start making one date per week. But once the woman starts calling you and texting you after your dates, I mean, the guy, he's pretty much done with initiating contact at that point. And then he just has to, when the woman reaches out, assume that she wants to see him. He makes a date, and then he gets off the phone. Why? Because the phone is for setting dates. It's not for texting and chatting or talking all different WhatsApp or Snapchat or any of the different Facebook or any of the other apps that are there. It's about making a definite date and then getting off the phone. But like I said, when the woman starts reaching out to you, then the initiating of the contact and the courtship, that's pretty much, he's done at that point. All he really has to do is do nothing. Wait to hear from her and make the next date. And as her attraction level grows, because women are natural nurturers and bonders and connectors, as her attraction level grows, the time in between her contacting and texting you when you don't have dates set is going to increase. And then it gets to the point, usually like right around week 7 is when a woman falls in love, and that's when she wants to be exclusive. If you follow exactly textbook what's in my book, that's what happens. If you're dating a woman and you're like this guy is, you're 10 weeks in and she's still not in love, then that tells me you're still doing too much pursuing and you're still making too many mistakes. And that means that you need to go back and read the book until you read it 10 to 15 times. And that means you get to know it so well. Like when you're reading the book, you're like, I know what comes next on the next page. That's when you really got it. Because I could tell he doesn't know the information in the book as well as he thinks he does. He says, I have, however, noticed that according to the attraction level chart, she hasn't quite done things that put her in the 8 to 9% range. Well, if you're still doing 40% of the calling, texting, pursuing, it's impossible. It's not going to happen until you start backing off and letting her come to you more and more. Like I said, at this point, she should be doing 100% of it. But you're still doing 40% of the pursuing. What does that tell me? You're needy, you're desperate, you're trying to force things too much. She never has enough time away from you to wonder about you, to think about you. That's why she hasn't fallen in love. He says, although sex is great and she appears on one level to be very into me, she would seem to be more in the 7 range, if that, and never says things like, can't wait to see you, or thanks for a fantastic night, which I thought she would have been saying by now. So why is she not saying those things? Well, it's because she ain't feeling those things. I can't wait to see you. How could she possibly be missing you if you're still pursuing her 40% of the time? It's not going to happen. You miss somebody when you're not speaking or when you haven't talked for a few days or a few hours. It also seems strange when she seemed to be so keen on me from the get-go, but over the last week or so I had begun to subtly notice a kind of mixed message coming from her. That tells me that her attraction level is actually going in the wrong direction. She's actually losing interest in you, dude. I decided that I would still be patient and wait until she eventually brought up the boyfriend-girlfriend conversation. She cooked me a nice meal, which she has done a few times, and then we went out socially. She was looking hot as she usually does, and I was understandably very hot for her. When we were at the venue, I just wanted to be kissing her and showing the world that me and her were an item. So in other words, you're looking for validation from other people to feel good about yourself. That's not a healthy mindset, dude. So in other words, what you're basically communicating is I was kissing her and I was all over her touching instead of waiting for her to initiate touching and kissing. So more than likely, when she backs off and is not initiating contact or kissing with you, you're all over her trying to force it. And you don't even realize that because you're head over heels in love. You're acting like a dopey, horny teenager who's trying to lose his virginity. That's why she's not in love with you, dude. He says, unfortunately, she was not reciprocating with that level of affection. Now, why would that be? Because she ain't feeling it. And as I say in my book, if you knew the book as well as you claimed you did, You would know that if you touch a woman and you're holding her hand and she lets go, you don't grab her hand back. You wait for her to reach over and grab your hand again. If you're kissing her and she pulls away, then you wait until she comes closer and wants to start kissing you again. And you may think that's subtle and it's ridiculous and it doesn't mean anything, but that's a major fucking problem, because that in and of itself communicates that you're very needy and very desperate and controlling and fearful that she doesn't like you. He says, unfortunately, she was not reciprocating with that level of affection and was actually subtly flirting with other guys. I do get a lot of female attention myself, but she said that she liked me and that she wasn't jealous at all, and said she would like the idea of me flirting with other women while she did likewise with other dudes. So in other words, what she's really looking for is, remember, it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. And if after 10 weeks you're still doing 40% of the calling, texting, and pursuing, and when you're with her, you're doing most of the touching instead of waiting for her to touch you, and then reciprocate slowly, there's never a time where she can feel uncertain of where she stands with you, because you're all over her like fucking white on rice. Like I said, you're like a horny teenager with a boner and you're trying to lose your virginity. And you're not paying attention to the fact that the girl that you're with just ain't reciprocating. I said I was absolutely not into that, and we had a long conversation about where the relationship was going. Notice how he says, we had a long conversation. So what really happened was she brought it up and he was feeling frustrated at this point, and so he wanted to know where he stood. That is more beta male, weak, pussy-like behavior. This is just more evidence of what you're doing wrong to push this girl away. Although I felt awkward being the one bringing this up. In other words, I knew I wasn't following what Corey taught me in his book, and had not wanted to, being the man and all. I felt I was forced into it given the context. Yeah, you were really forced into it, dude. You forced the issue. That's what really happened. You're bullshitting yourself, my friend. He continues on. I said to her that I was just not feeling it from her, but she said that she sometimes wasn't sure about where she stood with me and that she's a bit shy. Oh, she's a bit, whatever. That's the excuse that she gives you. Because what's really going on is she doesn't understand why she's not more into you than she is. And so this is the excuse that she's giving you. Oh, it's because I'm a bit shy, whatever. And notice what he says next. She says that she thinks I am predominantly a very kind man as well as sexy, but there's no badness in me at all. Although this is meant as a compliment, I'm not sure whether she perceives me as enough of a bad boy alpha male traits in me compared to the start. Dude, it's obvious. You started out as an alpha male, but you've pretty much reverted back to your beta male tendencies. And I talk about this in the book. When you start dating a girl you really like and she knocks your socks off, this guy's head over heels in love with this girl, if you don't know what's in my book backwards and forwards, this is exactly what will happen. It's so predictable. And this is what happens. It's like it slowly happened over the course of 10 weeks. The more you liked her, the more you started to pursue in all kinds of different ways that I pointed out throughout your email. That's why you're in the situation that you're in. You're basically, your girl's following. She was really into you at first, and now she's, He says, I can't understand this as I thought I acted alpha from the get-go. Yeah, you did in the get-go, in the beginning, but you stopped. You reverted back to your beta male tendencies, the guy that you were before you found my work. And my journalism career purpose, which I love, has been really kicking off from the time I met her. She did eventually say, let's be boyfriend-girlfriend, but I have serious doubts about the authenticity of this. Because you're bringing up, what's happening here at this point, you are totally acting like a woman. You're not acting like an alpha male. This is not the kind of conversation James Bond would ever have with any woman that he was dating. He'd be focused on hanging out, having fun, and hooking up. Even though we spent a really passionate day together, she cooked 2 meals, I decided to not make a follow-up definite date with her and just see what comes back from her. She has since texted me suggesting sex. Please help. So what I would be doing if I were you is I would just wait to hear from her and then make the date and stop being so fucking focused on where you stand and why she's not in love with you. The reason she's not in love with you is all the reasons I pointed out, as I've been going through your email. You're literally pushing this girl away to the point where now where she's flirting with other men in front of you. Why? Because she's hoping to get some kind of reaction out of you. She's hoping to get you to stand up and grow a spine and start acting like a man instead of acting like such a pussy all the time when you're with her. Because you started out acting like a total alpha man. You were doing everything textbook. And you did what a lot of guys tend to do. It's like, hey, I'm getting laid. I'm hooking up with this girl. She's all into me. She's blowing my phone up. I got this. I don't need to read fucking jerk-off Corey's book 10 to 15 times. What the fuck does he know? I get my dick sucked all the time, left and right. And this girl's crazy about me. I'm fucking awesome. I'm the man. I'm the shit. I've overcome my beta male. I got it. I don't need him no more. And all of a sudden, life comes along and, oh my God, alpha. And here it is. You're going out and your girl's flirting with other dudes. And you're bringing up the conversation about being exclusive. It's like, come on, man. Seriously, you need to fucking tighten up your game. You need to be, when you're not with your girl, read my book 10 to 15 times. You have to learn pickup skills. You have to learn dating skills. You have to learn relationship skills. You cannot substitute that stuff. You can't substitute the videos or just the fact that you're presently getting laid and think, oh, I don't need that relationship. Crap, I got this. Everything's great. They all reinforce each other, and you slowly transition from pickup skills to dating skills, and the final piece is the relationship skills in order to put it all together to cause a woman to fall in love and want to stay in love with you. And your girl, when she went like this, her interest went up, and then it peaked, and now it's been going back down the other way. And so if I were you at this point, I would do nothing. I would wait to hear from her. And when you do, make the next date. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. And also, when you're with her, a big thing is you're touching her too much, you're kissing her too much. Wait for her to grab your hand when you're walking together. You know, be a gentleman, open the car door and open doors and all that stuff when you're going in and out of buildings for her. But let her do, she needs to be chasing you in every way. And that includes giving affection as well. When you start making out, when she's close to you, and then you start making out, then obviously you move it to escalation to sex in the bedroom. But like I said, you're all over this girl, trying to force her to be in love with you by touching her and calling her too much, and it's not working for you. That's definitely what you need to do differently. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.